Hi everyone, and welcome again to the Oracle Golden Gate course. In this practice, you will execute two Oracle Golden Gate initial load methods: file to replicate and direct load. Before you execute the initial load methods, you need to make some operations in the target database. First, you need to create the target database schema. The name of the schema will be HRTRG. You need to have the metadata created in the target database. In other words, you need to create tables in the target database which have the same structure as of the replicated tables in the source database. You are free to use any utility to do that. In this practice, you will use the data pump to create the metadata in the target database. Please be aware that we are using the data pump to create the table structure, but not the data itself. Create a database link that will be used by the data pump utility. Create a directory object that will be used by the data pump utility. Run the data pump import utility to get the metadata from the source database. Verify the objects have been successfully imported. As you see, we have the same number of tables in the target database as in the source database, but they are empty. No data in them. Before you start any initial load process, you must disable the constraints and the triggers in the target tables. Disable the HRTRG constraints. Disable the HRTRG triggers. As you learned in the previous practice, it is highly advisable to drop the indexes in the target database before you start the initial load. In this section of the practice, you will create two scripts. One script will drop all the indexes in the target replicated tables, and the second script will create them again. In the target system, create a directory to save the script files in it. Generate the code to recreate the indexes of the target dataset. Generate the code to drop the indexes of the target dataset. Open the script files and perform some cleanup on them. Remove any unnecessary code from them. I have the spool of code in the end of the file. I'll remove it. And at the top I will see the select statement, so I will remove it. You will do the same to the second file. Execute the drop indexes script. You are ready now to execute the initial load processes. You will start with configuring the file to replicate initial load method. In both the source and target systems, make sure the manager is started. In the source system, configure the initial load extract parameter file. Add its runtime parameters as shown in the practice document. I propose name of the extract task as EFTRinit. E stands for extract, FT stands for file to replicate, and init stands for initial load. This is to differentiate between the initial load task from the change synchronization extract process. When you execute the command edit param, Golden Gate will create a file of the same name as of the task or process group name, and it will open the file with the VI editor. You then use the same VI editor commands to manage the contents of the parameter file. For example, if you want to insert code into the file, use the I key in your keyboard. The parameters in this parameter file are self-descriptive. Source is table is a required parameter for a file to replicate extract task. User ID is used by the extract to log in to the source database. RMT host defines the target system that the extract should communicate with. This includes the hostname and the port number of its manager process. RMT file defines the file that will be created in the target database to save the data in it. The last table parameters define the source tables that you want to replicate. In the target system, configure the initial load delivery parameter file and add the parameters as shown below to it. In this section of the practice, you will start the file to replicate initial load and monitor its operation. In the source machine, start the extract process from the OS shell prompt. The file to replicate initial load extract task can be started only from the OS shell prompt. This is different from the other extract types. Other extract types are started from the ggsci command prompt. When the control is returned to the OS shell prompt, it means the extract has finished its operation. It has extracted the data and saved it in a file in the target system. View the report of the initial load extract. Observe the number of the insert operations in the end of the report. You will see some general information in the beginning of the report. And here you will see the number of the insert operations executed against each replicated table. In the target system, start the initial load replicate task. View the replicate task report. Observe the number of inserts in the end of the report. You can notice here the number of inserts executed in each replicated table. Verify that the data has been initialized in the target database. The same number of records are there in the source table and the target table. You have configured and executed the file to replicate Oracle Golden Gate initial load extract. Now, let's configure and test the direct load initial load method. Before doing that, you need to empty the target replicated tables. Truncate the tables in the HR TRG schema in the target database.